So broadly speaking, I think the growth that we're seeing in 2021, I think will continue in 2022. And part of the reason is that I think we've reached this point where we're past the, there's obviously market speculation as well, but we've now reached a point where people are entering the space who are not really there just because they want to make a quick buck, but they're actually now really interested about what decentralization means, the ethos of blockchain, the ethos of building, more equity and more for ownership. And that's starting to really come together. The people that are entering the space are now here also because they're building. Now, for instance, for us in the gaming industry, almost every game company in the world is now looking at blockchain, right? There's a few people, actually quite a few people still are like, oh, I'm not going to touch that, and it's all a scam, and I'm not sure about it. However, EA has said it's important. Ubisoft, one of our shareholders, has also made it one of their sort of bigger focus points. Square Enix, right? It's all those large corporations in the gaming world, for example, are looking at it. When Facebook announced that they're going to be Meta and sort of be the metaverse, even though their metaverse is not one that is powered by blockchain or maybe one that is truly open, people are now becoming aware. And so when you think about sort of the whole sort of graph of adoption, we're at the early adopter cycle, but we're very, very rapidly moving up that cycle now, because even amongst non-financial circles, you have people talking about the potential of the metaverse. So from that perspective, I think we're now going to go from millions of users that are in the space, but we're going to shoot, in my perspective, way past tens of millions. In 2022, we will be in the hundreds of millions of users, essentially, in the open metaverse through blockchain, essentially. That's what we think will happen. Many of the companies that have emerged this year, putting big budgets into, for instance, blockchain games, are going to be ready to launch these games next year. Companies like ourselves, who have been working on high-quality games like Phantom Galaxies already earlier, right? Or the launch of Sandbox, really just, by the end of this month, for instance, right? These are things that have taken many years to develop, are now finally coming out. So you can kind of measure that and say, okay, the quality bar of these titles are coming out faster and faster and faster because more money is being invested in it. Bumps aside, the long-term trend from our perspective is very, very clear. So I think it's just going to, the macro, we're just going to continue to see growth. The metaverse is going to be very much like a multiverse, right? Meaning that when you think of the construction of one chain, or one sort of, let's say, sandbox, or one rev, or whatever ecosystem you might be thinking of it, whether it's layer 1, layer 2, or dApp, we view them very much as like the construction of either cities or countries. Right? And in that sense, we don't think it makes sense to have just one, right? You think about the economic structure of every token infrastructure, it's actually not to be viewed like that of a country, that of a company, but should be viewed much more of that of a country, meaning that the economic success and sort of the, call it GDP per capita, is a better measure of success of that ecosystem, that community, than how much profits it generates, for instance, right? And I think this is where maybe traditional ways of looking at it struggle with this, because they're trying to see how much value is being extracted from it, when in fact, actually, when you think about any community building exercise, which blockchain powers in effect, it's actually how much value is being generated from within for the community that exists within, very much like a country, right? So I think this is sort of where I think the metaverse will go. That will have many chains, many layer 1s and layer 2s. There will be interoperability through bridges, much like one way to describe them could be like the DHL or FedExes, basically of the metaverse, where you can literally transfer and transport items safely across the various sort of metaverses. But I don't think it's going to be sort of a winner takes all. I don't think there's going to be one. In fact, I think it would be rather depressing if there was one, because then it means that it would impact things like choice, diversity, inclusion. All these things would struggle and suffer if there was only one such environment. The big thing around all of these comes from one major paradigm as far as we're concerned, which is actual true digital ownership. If you can have actual safe and secure property rights in the digital space, no matter which chain you're on or which metaverse you're on, then from there the foundation can be built for what we consider is the true metaverse. Right? The kind of societies that actually have real property, in the sense that they can be safe and secure, allow for the construction of new businesses and new innovations to innovate on top. You can't innovate on top of something that could disappear tomorrow. It's very hard. Or if you do not have the certainty of it being there, right? You couldn't have IKEA if people couldn't own their homes. You couldn't build a furniture business, or you couldn't build, a kitchenware business if there was no such thing as ownership of property that was secure, right? So, if you think about every business in the world today actually composes on top of another business, which actually comes from the fact that you own that property. And that to me is the big promise of the open metaverse, which is we can construct exactly the same way how we live in the physical world in terms of innovation and ideas and creation of new things, because I happen to own this, and that ownership is secure and proven. So that's what really the open metaverse is about, which, the closed metaverses that some companies are trying to build are absolutely not doing that. And we think ultimately they will fail. But obviously I think that is going to be a big thematic in the coming years, where there's going to be those who will try to build the closed metaverse, and then, everyone else, like companies like ourselves, that are trying to build the open metaverse.